In the name of Allah, who is the most beneficent and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum. Shelley's love of nature. Like other romantic poets, Shelley is also a lover of nature. To Shelley, nature conveyed an impression of something deeper than sensuous beauty. Nature for Wordsworth was a spiritual reality. Shelley agreed with this conception of Wordsworth, but he endowed nature with intellect. The basic difference between Wordsworth and Shelley is that whereas Wordsworth spiritualized nature, the latter intellectualized her. Shelley felt that nature could feel, act, and think like a living thing. His treatment of nature was related to large landscapes, which are of another word. Shelley dealt with light and cloud. If he came to earth, it was rock and cave, which was handled by him. In his essay on love, he writes with warm admiration for nature and objects of nature as follows. There is eloquence in the tongueless wind and a melody in the flowing brooks. Shelley describes things in nature as they are in themselves, and as he describes, he himself is wholly detached from them. It is true he makes them alive. It is no dead matter which is working, but living powers, doing the things that please them. And we may think that Shelley has imposed on material things his own life, but that was not his intention. Shelley really believed that the cloud, the stream, the flower, the sea, even the cell were alive, had the will to live, worked for this purpose, played as they worked, and the trend of the latest philosophy of the universe is not far apart from his disbelief. At any rate, he alone among the poets could see natural things and chose sometimes to see them as they were in themselves, wholly independent in thought and feeling. Of these poems, The Cloud is the most finished example. I am the daughter of the earth and water, and the nursling of the sky. I pass through the pores of the ocean and shores. I change, but I cannot die. Another notable aspect of Shelley's nature poetry is his myth making power. He had a great deal of mythopoetic power. Professor Clutton Brock makes a lucid distinction between Shelley and the primitive myth makers. Forces of nature were looked upon by primitive myth makers as more powerful than human beings, but still in all essentials human. But to Shelley, observes Professor Clutton Brock, the west wind was still a wind, and the cloud a cloud. In his poetry, they keep their own character and do not take on human attributes, though their qualities may be expressed in imagery taken from human beings. The wind is a symbol of poetic imagination, the symbol of strength and energy, the symbol of hope, the symbol of regeneration of mankind, and a symbol of his own personality. In ancient myths, the doings of nature, especially of sky, are impersonated and described as the doing of men and animals. The dawn is shown to fly before the rising sun. The summer giant conquers the winter and is conquered in turn by winter giants. The rays of the sun are the arrows of the sun god. It is with some wonder and much pleasure that in Shelley we find ourselves with a poet who was detached from the present and the past so as to be able to make new nature myths of his own, to feel nature and to see her doings as a child who belonged to the childhood of the world. In Shelley's hand, every separate object of nature has a distinct individuality of its own. The cloud enjoys an exclusive and independent existence, and so does the west wind or the skylark. This capacity for individualizing the separate forces of nature is called Shelley's myth making power.